Hello there and welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the Tikka T3x versus the Howa 1500. Now of course Tikka offers several different models of rifles, and Howa also offers several different versions of the Howa 1500 rifle as well. So to get things started, let's go ahead and take a look at the Tikka T3x Superlight to start our review. Here we have a Tikka T3x Superlight. Go ahead and visually and physically inspect the chamber to make sure it's empty. Never mind the rattle can paint job I did on this rifle. I've used it extensively for hunting, and even though it may not look like a normal Tikka, I can assure you that it still operates just the same nevertheless. So let's just go ahead and compare this butt pad. Okay, that's a very firm butt pad on this Tikka T3x here. Not too terrible, but it is quite firm. I would say it's a step up from the one they had on the regular T3. Now let's see a similar class rifle sold by Howa. Now this is a Howa Kuiu, a lightweight rifle here, and this comes with the Howa Hogue non-rubberized stock. I actually think this butt pad, and having used and shot both rifles extensively, I would have to say that the Hogue butt pad is just a little bit better. It's a little bit softer in the right areas that you want to help with that recoil mitigation and felt recoil. And so I'd have to say, on that model at least, I would give it to Howa. So back to the Tikka. Let's go ahead and just run this action just a little bit. Now I've already made sure it was safe. Oh man. I have felt very few guns or ran very few actions that were as smooth as a Tikka T3x or a Tikka T3. I mean, this thing, oh my goodness. I mean, it is butter. Now this is a stainless steel model here with the stainless steel barrel, and I can tell you this much. The stainless steel model on the Tikkas do tend to run smoother out of the box than the regular blued. Now let's take a look at the Howa here and see how that performs. Take it off safe, visually and physically inspect. Okay, so this is empty. This is the Cerakoted model here. I would say the Cerakoted models take a little bit more break-in to really feel really smooth in the action, whereas, you know, the regular models, I think they smooth out a little faster. I think that's just from the coatings inside here on the raceways rubbing and just causing a little more friction because it's Cerakoted. However, I gotta say, it's a great action. I love this gun. Never had a problem, but I would have to say the bolt doesn't run as smooth as a Tikka. Tikka T3x here. Let's move on to the trigger. So I'm going to make sure this is safe once again. Now first let's take a look at safeties. This safety is a two-stage safety, okay? Two-position safety. The rear, of course, is safe. Locks the trigger firmly. Locks the bolt so it can't come undone. You push it forward, you can run the bolt, and you can pull the trigger. Let's put that over here again. Now let's take a look at the good old Howa. Okay, so let's take a look at the safety. One thing I love about Howa, and this is an advantage over the Tikka for sure, and I firmly believe that this is a better safety than a Tikka, is it's 3 stages. It all the way to the rear locks the bolt and the trigger. 1 forward, you can use the bolt, but the trigger is still unsafe. All the way forward, you'll find a 2-stage trigger. First stage, second stage. Alright, so difference there is that this 3-position safety allows you to be able to work that bolt while still maintaining safety. One thing to note is that they both have safety options that lock the bolt, and I really like that over the Remingtons. I like to be able to lock that bolt so that it doesn't come out when it's on my back of my pack or in a side saddle. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at the differences in triggers. We've already made sure this is safe. Remember, this is a single stage trigger on the Tikka versus a two-stage trigger on the Howa. Wow, I gotta tell you, that is a good trigger. That is a good factory trigger right there. So one thing with Tikka, if you like single stage triggers, they're great. If you want a two-stage trigger, well, they don't have them, they come with a single stage. Of course, you can buy an aftermarket two-stage trigger for them. I will say this, to adjust the Tikka trigger is easy, but the lowest it will adjust is 2.5 or 2.25 pounds. I believe they advertise 2.5 pounds. It is glass rod breaking trigger. I mean, there is no creep, not even a little bit of creep, and it breaks like glass. There's just barely any noticeable over travel after it breaks. So I gotta say, it's a really good trigger. I will say this, I can adjust this down to about 2.5 pounds. After that, the way the trigger's designed, at least with my expertise, I cannot adjust it any lower or do a trigger job to it to get it any lower. Whereas with the hack two-stage trigger, I can easily do a trigger job to that trigger and adjust it down and tweak it so that overall I actually like the hack two-stage trigger better because of what I'm able to do with it very simply and easily in the shop. Let's go over here and still take a look. So this, of course, like I was saying, is the Howa, and they come with the hacked two-stage trigger. And you'll find a very light, consistent first stage take-up. You'll hit the wall on the second stage. A very crisp, very clean, no second stage creep. Triggers, I would say it's really more on personal preference. If you like a two-stage trigger, then you're going to like the hacked better. If you like a single stage, you might like the Tikka trigger better. So, one thing we need to go over here is Tikka offers a couple different variations of their rifle, meaning basically different weight barrels combined with a little bit different stock. Now, one thing to note is that Howa offers a ton of different variations or models of their rifle, meaning tons of different stock selections. Anything from the Bravo to the Oryx chassis to the Hogue stock to a walnut stock. I mean, they have, and then the H-S Precision stock, they have a ton of different options, whereas Tikka pretty much has what they call a polymer stock that's reinforced with fibers. Okay, so it's polymer, but it's got fibers added to it. It's not true fiberglass, but it's very rigid, very strong. With the T3x, you can add some attachments basically to your palm swell or your forend to give you a little bit different grip or feel. Really don't offer a lot of different versions. So Howa definitely wins out as far as having a lot more different options to choose from. I would say overall, I love the Tikka, but I would say their stocks leave a little bit to be desired. Now, of course, the Tikka TAC-A1 comes with a chassis, and that's a beautiful, very nice rifle. I think MSRP is, or it sells for between $1,500 and maybe $1,600, $1,700. So let's talk about the receiver. So the receiver on the Tikka T3x, although it is lighter than the Howa 1500, it doesn't actually have a recoil lug as part of the receiver or sandwiched between the barrel and the receiver like Remington 700 does. So normally you have your barrel goes into a receiver, and part of that receiver or near that receiver is a piece of metal that sticks out, maybe half an inch, and goes down into a recess in the stock. Now, Tikka doesn't have that. Tikka has a very small and shallow groove, which a piece of metal that's separate from the stock and separate from the receiver or action, where that piece of metal goes into a groove into the stock, and then the groove in the receiver goes on the top side of that piece of metal, and you basically sandwich it in between with the tension held by the action screws. Now, having a separate piece of metal as your recoil lug just doesn't appeal to me. I feel like the durability and quality of the Howa 1500 action is better than the Tikka in those regards. I think the Howa 1500 is built more solid and durable as far as the receiver and how the receiver goes into a stock. So on the Tikka you have a bolt release here, and you just press this lever in and it releases the bolt. Okay, on the Howa you have a bolt release up here on the top. You press down on the lever and the bolt will slide out. So no real big huge difference there. Both bolt releases work just fine. Really doesn't matter, that's personal preference. Tikka T3x and the Tikka T3 come with a little polymer magazine that's single stack just like this, and it clips down here in the bottom, and then on the front right here is the magazine release. You simply push down and it pops out, and it's actually pretty forceful. It'll pop out almost all the way just by suppressing that tab there. It is polymer, you know, but really in reality it's extremely reliable. Howa comes with several models that have magazines, and they also offer a magazine conversion kit that you can put on any Howa. Most of the rifles come with a really nice metal trigger guard and floor plate. Now, and it's all metal, which is really nice. And I do like that over the Tikka T3x, because on the Tikka this is plastic. The trigger guard is plastic, and you know, like I said, the magazine works fine, it's reliable, but the trigger guard itself is plastic, and I do not like that. I definitely say the Howa's got a better product as far as that's concerned. There are stories of the trigger guards on these Tikkas getting banged off a rock while hunting and cracking and breaking off, and then you could have some problems with safety there. Thing to mention is that with the receiver on the Howa, they have many different configurations or models that come with many different stocks. So some of the stocks are pillar bedded, and some of the stocks have aluminum bedding block, and like the one behind me, the H-S Precision, has a aluminum bedding block that's actually molded into a Kevlar and fiberglass reinforced resin stock. So with how it kind of depends on which model you get, whether or not it's going to be a lot better or just a little bit better than the Tikka T3x. So with this one's pillar bedded, and like the Tikka T3x, the stock that come on those is also pillar bedded, of course, unless you get one of their chassis rifles. Now, an important thing to mention, Tikkas run more expensive than Howas, basically. So this gun was an $800 gun. It's the Tikka T3x Superlight. Now, the regular Tikka T3x you might be able to find around $700 or maybe $650. The gun behind you, which is far superior in many ways to that Tikka T3x Superlight, is a Howa H-S Precision. Now, this Howa H-S Precision comes with the H-S Precision stock. Like I said before, it's fiberglass reinforced resin, and it's got an embedded aluminum bedding block into the stock that the action beds up to, and this stock is completely different class than the Tikka T3x stock. And this gun was actually only $600 online. So brand new, this gun was $600, and that gun cost me about $800. So for $200 less, I got a gun with a way superior stock, a metal trigger guard, and a metal floor plate, 3-position safety, and those things, in my opinion, basically separate this from the Tikka T3x on value or what you get for your money. You get more for your money with Howa than you do for Tikka as well, and that is why I usually go straight to Howa for all my rifles. You know, like I said, the only really big difference that I see is that the bolt ride's a lot smoother in a Tikka out of the box than a Howa. But over time, Howas smooth out, and there's gunsmithing things you can do to a Howa very easily to make that bolt run smoother. And like I said, I can do a trigger job on that and get it down to anything I want and tweak it to just what I want. Whereas with a Tikka trigger, I can only adjust it down to its factory spec, and I can't get it to adjust any lower. I would have to buy a whole nother trigger. So for those reasons, I definitely choose Howa over Tikka. But they are both excellent, excellent guns, and I love them both. I mean, I love the smoothness of the bolt out of the box on a Tikka. I love the trigger and the quality of the receiver and the beefiness of the receiver and the quality of stocks I can get and configurations I can get for the money with Howa. So both are really great guns. Now, as far as shooting, both shoot excellent. I wouldn't say one shoots better than the other. This gun has shot many sub half minute of angle groups at 100 yards. It shot, you know, quarter-inch groups. It shot one-hole groups at 100 yards. The Tikka has as well. Both with factory ammunition, actually in some cases with the same brand, same factory ammunition. So, you know, yes, there's some advantages and disadvantages to each one, of course, but I think the best value for what you get is with Howa. So that's all I have to say today. Go ahead and remember, like and subscribe, drop some comments below, and I look forward to talking to you next time.